Welcome to Harvest Take 5 with Jerry Anderson. Harvest Take 5 is a weekly ministry of Harvest Baptist Church, where the previous week's sermon is condensed into a short but powerful life lesson. We all have busy lives. Together, let's stop and learn to take 5 for the things that are really important.
Hi, welcome back to Harvest Take 5. I'm Jerry Anderson, pastor of Harvest Baptist Church. And this week we continued our study on the I will church attitude. In other words, taking an attitude of church that says, I want to be there and what I will do versus I have to be there. And this week we discussed the importance of growing together as believers. And here's the headline. We looked at Acts chapter 2, verse 46. In Acts chapter 2, verse 46, it describes the early style of worship for the church. And it said they met in the temple courts and they broke bread in each other's homes daily. And what that shows us is that not only did the church get together in a large group setting, but it also got together in a small group setting. And that's what we talked about for the whole day is how do we as Christians commit to being involved in small group discipleship? And here's the main thing I said. I can tell you with about 86% accuracy whether or not you'll still be at the church you're attending now in 5 years. And the number one identifier, the number one statistic, the number one thing that showed that was an involvement in a small group discipleship program. Studies show that 86% of people who are involved in a small group will still be attending that church 5 years later versus 16%. So if you're not involved in a small group, there's a less than a 20% chance that in 5 years you'll still be attending the same church you're at right now. But beyond that, we really looked at some reasons why small group ministry is important. And the first one was relationship aspect. You know, in a large church setting, it's hard to develop deep relationships. You know, you come into a small church like ours, which is the normal sized church in America, and you have anywhere between 80 to 100 people on a given Sunday. It's impossible to build close level relationships with that many people. But in a small group setting, you get about 10 to 20 people, and its ability to build those relationships increase. The second aspect is the ministry aspect. You know, when you're in a small group discipleship program or a small group discipleship, whether it's Sunday school or a small group somewhere else, you've got the ability to have 20 people that know exactly what's going on in your life, which increases the odds and the opportunity for the local church to minister to each other. The other aspect is it closes the back door. You know, I already mentioned the fact that being involved in a small group increases your chances of being at a church long term. You know, one of the big things we like to do as a church is try to attract people to come. Well, connecting them to a small group is a crucial step in assimilation. And I even went on so far to say is if you're not involved in a small group in your church, you're not really committed to that church. It's a place you go to, but it's not your family yet. And so we really encourage you to be involved in a small group because that closes the back door. And the last reason is this, it's an excellent evangelical tool. You know, there's something about Sunday school or a small group outside that is less intimidating to invite people to. You know, it's easy to invite someone to a small group meeting and let them build relationships with you and then bring them to the church. And the one thing that I reflected on is about 5-6 years ago, my wife and I were involved in a small group at a local church we attended. And this small group met on Sunday morning. It was a traditional Sunday school class, but it was for young married couples. And we decided to start having dinner once a week with some of these couples. And before we knew it, there was 5, 6, 7, sometimes 10 couples getting together every Friday night for dinner. And in that group, we grew together spiritually. We grew together relationally, and they're still some of our best friends, even though we live 400 miles away now, because we were in each other's lives on a consistent basis. And on top of that, we got to the situation where we could start inviting people to this dinner on Friday nights and build relationship there, and it became a natural invitation for them to come to church with us. So here is my challenge to the church, my challenge to you. If you're attending church somewhere, you know, last week I said just show up, just be there, and that's important. But this week, between now and Christmas, I want to encourage you to find a small group, whether it's a Sunday school class or a Bible study outside of church or a small group somewhere with a church body where you meet on a consistent basis and learn and grow. And see if your plugging into a small group doesn't increase your satisfaction and your desire to be with your church body. Look, I appreciate your time, and again, I want you to enjoy yourself, and remember, there's always room for you here at Harvest.
Thank you for being a part of this week's episode of Harvest Take 5. If you live in the Dyersburg area and are not currently involved in a church, we would love to see you this Sunday at 11 a.m. Harvest is located at 544 Fuller Road in Dyersburg, Tennessee. Until next week, remember, take 5 minutes for what really matters, and remember, there's always room for you at Harvest.